Zee about women's rights and trans rights in Pakistan, how he went from medicine to filmmaking, and his new feature film, Good Morning Pakistan. Don't go away.
चाहतों की डोरी बंधी है, नाज़ों पली है मीठी गुड़ की डली है, चमकी चुनरी के नीचे दुल्हन चली है, ताक पिया जब डोरे डाले मन भागे तोड़ के ताले, पिया जब डोरे डाले मन तोड़े सब ताले, लड़ गईया गईया लड़ गईया जब से अखियां लड़ गईया, मिल गईया गईया मिल गईया
Joining me now is Dr. Hassan Zee, director of the film Good Morning Pakistan. Its original name was Salam Pakistan, which plays on Monday, December 10th at another Hole in the Head Indie Film Festival at New People Cinema in San Francisco's Japantown. The film is visually stunning, and the characters and the story are very rich. I was trying to figure out what genre to call this. Like, I happened to see something that calls it a romantic comedy, and I definitely don't think that's right. But it does combine romance, drama, magical realism, and some Bollywood elements. What film style or tradition would you say it fits into?
I would say that films are for audience, for people to watch, and from Pakistan, we watch movies which are coming from the Bollywood tradition, where there is 5 songs in the movie, and the songs kind of they move the story further. And then I wanted to bring in the film is basically from American point of view. So it's about Omar, the Pakistani, second generation Pakistani American, going back there. So in a way it is from American point of view, but because it is shot in that culture, so I wanted to bring in the elements of that filmmaking also into my film. Now that I have been living here in San Francisco for 18 years, so you know how you shape up as a filmmaker, how you think, things change with time. I've been living here for a long time, so I think that when I show the film to Americans, they related more to it because Pakistani films have, or Indian films have very big sets of Bollywood and 200 people are dancing, and we don't have that in our film. It is a small film, but it do have little elements taken from the Bollywood.
Now, this is your 4th film, but it's the first one filmed in Pakistan, is that right?
Yes, I have made 3 feature films here in USA. One is Night of Henna, then Bicycle Bride, House of Temptation. These films were all shot here in San Francisco Bay Area. Last year in 2017, I went back home to visit my mother, and everybody over there, I met the friends, which were 20 years long friends, and I haven't seen them in a while. And so they were like, "You're making movies in America. Why don't you make one here?" And I just took this opportunity of very big actors. The grandma, the woman who plays grandma in the film, she was a top Pakistani Punjabi actress. So she has 200 films on her credit as heroine of the film. So I met her and I said I'm planning to make a movie, and she got really excited. And so these big actors from Pakistan, like the guy who plays Grandpa, he's also a very big actor. And then I introduced two new faces who had a little bit of television work, but they were very good. The guy who plays Omar, Ali Raza, is this is his first feature film, and the girl who plays Dia Candle, this is also her first feature film.
So you call this a film about gender equality and women's empowerment. Why did you want to make a film about those issues in Pakistan?
When I was growing up, I was a storyteller. I always loved to tell stories. I have 7 brothers and sisters, so I will bring them all together and start telling a story which will never end. So my mom was worried that the kids would be hungry and his story is not going to finish. So I always wanted to tell stories. And then I saw a transgender person coming to our house begging for money. And it really affected me. Then it also, my sisters, when they grew up, my mother had to go and find husbands for them, because in our culture we have arranged marriages, which means that parents have to find the right family to get the girls married. So I always thought, like, why my sisters can't make the decisions on their own, why they have to get out of the house but always have to walk with husband or brother or father. They can't go on their own. So these were sensitive topics which were in my mind. So also when I was working in Pakistan as a doctor in the burn unit, where the women who could not bear children or they did not bring enough dowry in their wedding were burnt by their in-laws or husbands, and that was just shocking. I was working in that burn unit and it really shook me inside, and I thought I must do something about these women. So I wanted to tell stories. So this topic was so sensitive for me. So in every film which I do, there is some element of human empowerment or women empowerment. And in Good Morning Pakistan, I also brought in the transgender, the guy who is the servant. He's kind of like part of the family, but still he is like taking care of the grandma and grandpa. But at the same time, there's a scene in which he really tells about who he is, and I think that is very touching scene. And I saw people crying on that scene. So I'm very proud of this achievement of Good Morning Pakistan.
Yeah, so that character of Happy Heart, the trans character, they say of themselves that they were born with a man's body but a woman's soul. Do people in that position in Pakistan, would they identify with the term trans, or was sort of what we mean by that here?
People back home call them hijras, Higras, hijras or hijras. So there are a lot of people in this world who have, gender. There can be, because we have been trained as kids and always in textbooks and everywhere, our minds have been trained that there is a male and female, and whatever is not normal according to the standards of this world is considered like something weird, something different. So these people are called hijras, and it's very unfortunate that they're not considered part of the community. They are they live in the outskirts of the villages or the cities, and they dance. There are no jobs for them. So, which is very sad. If you are a transgender or gender binary or whatever other gender other than male and female, you can't exist as a normal person. So which is a very sad reality. And still I was in Pakistan and I saw them still begging in the streets and also dancing for whenever a child is born, especially the male children. They go and do a dance, and that way people can give them money, and that is the only way for them to survive. And I think that now with the proliferation of internet all over the world and people being more aware of gender identity, these people should have jobs just the way they have jobs here in America. Some of them do. I mean, San Francisco is pretty liberal city, but I do understand that small towns in America, in the middle of the country, there are still people are facing the gender inequality, and so hijras. I think that it's time for us to kind of explore and know more about these people and give them the rights, just basic rights as human beings, and whatever they want to do in their life, they should go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was interesting because the film is about a very small village, and you grew up in a small village, actually in the same small village that the film is shot in, and yet there are openly trans people or hijras there in that small village where, I think in many, if not most small towns in the U.S., most people would never have met someone that they identified as trans, that they knew was trans. I mean, it's only maybe now becoming something that is more common. But I mean, I can tell you, I work at a place that has at least 500 employees, and there's 2 trans men that I know of who work here, and there used to be 1 trans woman. I mean, it's, unemployment for trans people in the U.S. is somewhere around 40%, I think. So in some ways, it sounds like Pakistan might be more accepting than the U.S.
I would say that the experiences which I have over here, especially living in San Francisco and meeting all different kind of people, I feel that they are talking a lot on television about it. I went to a couple of meetings, met a couple of transgender people, but I still feel that the small towns in America are still very, very oppressed. I would say that the kids who are LGBT and who are just transgender or any other gender than male or female, it is very hard. It is very hard to be in a position where you feel so different from the rest of the world. It's also that how you're going to get a job, is your family is going to accept you. Also, the issues of religion come in between too. Some people are very religious and they won't accept these things in the family, which can be very hard for the kids growing up in that kind of environment. In Pakistan, the hijras might just be, I met few of them and I talked to them and they were like, oh, we don't have any respect, self-respect. And that was quite sad when I talked to them. And I said, well, you're a human being, you have feelings, you should express yourself. And they had no clue of what I was talking about, because every day when you go through that abuse and people throwing stones at you in the street, and you go to buy something at the store and people are going to laugh at you, it becomes like a second nature for you. Like, so it is just part of their life and the pain which they go through every day just to be able to survive in this world.
So, as you've said, the film deals with some very intense issues: the rape of a 14-year-old girl, bride burning, forced marriage, the murder of infant girls. But it's not really a downer for the most part, and there are some very strong and empowered women characters. How realistic is that?
I would say that there are women in Pakistan which are empowered. There are highly educated women also in Pakistan. All my sisters are masters. They have done masters and they're teaching in colleges and doing jobs. So when I talk about the issues, what I want is, I always felt that cinema should be something which you can have fun with. So if you're going to go And I mean, if you want to watch a documentary about acid burning, then the whole idea of that is like this depressed state of like one after another image which is coming. But what I wanted to do was give entertainment so that you can have a fun, but something, some little thing which you can take with you. They're like, oh yeah, I saw that in Good Morning Pakistan. There was a scene where the filmmaker did not show the actual act but gave the feeling of what really happened with emotions and music and a little bit of imagery. So I like that. I like to not show things like full fledged because they can be very hard on people. Like Happy Heart, every scene you are laughing. I mean, when I see the movie in the theater with all the audience, every time I watch it, everybody's laughing at what he's saying. But his life, in a way, is also, when he talks about his sadness. So, as human beings, we must be happy because if you're going to be sad, and then more sadness is going to come our way. So when I get up in the morning every day, I want to feel good. So that's what I wanted to give it to my audience, that it's so beautiful to go to Pakistan and see this village. The film is shot in Tatral. That is a village where I was born, and the shrine which you saw, that's where my mother took me as a little child. And where he meets the girl behind the shrine, uh, that's where I used to go and play there. So I wanted to give a real taste of Pakistan.
I'm speaking with Dr. Hassan Zee, and he's the director of Good Morning Pakistan, which you can see on December 10th at the New People's Cinema. You were trained originally at 26, you became a medical doctor, but now you've made 4 films. How did you transition from medicine to filmmaking, or are you still doing both?
I'm doing both. I feel that people say like, oh, when I will have some time, I'll make films, or when I will have some money, I will follow my dreams. Actually, it's now. You have to do it now, because if you don't do it now, there is no tomorrow. There's never gonna be time, and there's never gonna be money. So I thought I might as well make whatever I can with whatever resources I have right now. As I said, that I was a storyteller ever since I was a little kid. So when I was 18, I made a big fuss at home, and I told them that I'm going to go and become a radio artist, and I'm going to be telling stories in radio. And everybody was just amazed at what I was saying. And then I did go and I worked in radio while I was going to medical school. So I have a background of radio. I did about 8 to 10 years of radio, 8 years in Pakistan and then 2 years here in USA. And then I went to San Francisco Public Library and I started reading books about filmmaking, and I started to watch. I mean, San Francisco Public Library has millions of books and films, and I saw every film I could find about Italian realist cinema and French New Wave and old American classic films. And actually, I wrote a screenplay when I was in San Francisco Public Library back then in 2004. And I somehow found a list of Academy Award nominated cinematographers in a camera shop, and I called one of them, and his name was Hiro Narita, and he shot my first feature film. So it was called Night of Henna, which was released in 20 cities. And that's how my first film started. And I started to get confidence that, yes, I can make films and I can tell stories and I can write this, because even when you're going to school, you have to do a lot of studying of books. So I did that on my own, and I'm very well organized. When I, get behind something, I'll go and just get it done.
Wow. Well, some of our listeners might want to tap your brain in terms of projects that they have been thinking about. And, I bet there's people listening who think, well, I want to make films. I want to find out how. Are you up for, mentoring people?
Absolutely. If anybody has any kind of question, and they can email me, hassanzee@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, www.doczfilms.com, or you can just Facebook friend me. It's so many ways now to be able to get in touch. And I'm pretty cool guy. I like to respond to everybody. So yes, if you have any questions, feel free to call me.
Good Morning Pakistan plays next Monday, December 10th at 6 p.m. at another Hole in the Head Film Festival, which is part of Indie Fest. The festival will take place at the New People Cinema in San Francisco's Japantown. New People is a literally underground cinema located below street level at 1746 Post Street in San Francisco. There are over 160 films at this year's festival, which features sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and other genres. Visit ahith.com for tickets and more info. Another Hole in the Head Film Festival. I've been speaking with Hassan Zee, director of the film Good Morning Pakistan. For anyone who tuned in after the start of the show, let me again mention the People's Assembly for Migrant Caravan Solidarity that will be held this Saturday night, December 8th at 7 p.m. at the First Presbyterian Church of Oakland, 27th and Broadway. There will be political education, cultural programming, and testimony from people who traveled on previous caravans. And then we will be breaking into working groups to figure out what we can do to support the people amassed at the border. That's it for today's show. You can find any segments you missed and links to all of our guests today on our blog, kpfawomensmag.blogspot.com, or on our archive, kpfa.org/program/women's-magazine. Get updates by joining our Facebook group, Listen to KPFA Women's Magazine. Thanks to Webmistress Blue Murov. I'm Kate Raphael. We will be fundraising next week, asking for your continued support so we can keep doing this show. I hope some of you will be able to help us out, as we cannot do it without you. Stay strong, stay in the streets, and stay tuned for About Help. Thanks for listening.